Sue-Ann.
We're now live. How about that? Yay! How's it going? What's going on? So we're back at it with Sizzling with Sass, and this week we released the Baco Noir, the Swing Barn Baco Noir. It's a reserve, so it's unlike any other Baco Noir we've released before, because all the Baco Noirs before have been with no oak, right? That's always been our point of difference between all the other Baco Noirs out there and mine, is that this one had no oak to it. But 2018 came along, hot, dry vintage, so gorgeous.
Your favorite vintage?
My favorite vintage, right? Because it had a bit more moisture to it than like 2016 and 2020, for instance. And so yeah, I just love 2018 wine. So I'm going to be using that again today too. The Fancy Farm Girl Red we're going to use making the red wine risotto. So yeah. So okay, full disclosure, are you scared of making risotto? I always was, and it's also one of those things too when you see at the restaurant that you're like, what the heck? Like, I'm totally getting into the restaurant because it takes so much more time to make it at home, and it does. But once I started making it, it's like so easy. Yeah. So it's all just about getting your aromatics first, and so I just started off here. Like, it was actually, so we're gonna use for 1 cup of rice, I use a good glug of. Let's say maybe like a tablespoon and a half of olive oil, and a tablespoon and a half of butter, and melted that down, and then just added in half an onion that's been semi-finely chopped, and got that kind of translucent. And then once that was so like 3 or 4 minutes, let's say, got it translucent, and then put in 1 smashed up and then finely chopped clove of garlic. So that's just, I can just start to smell the garlic now.
Oh God, yeah, it smells delicious in here.
It does, doesn't it?
It's too bad there's not like Insta Smell Live. No, that would be bad.
There should be. Well, Gus, you talked about what do you call it? He calls it about aromatic, and I know it's too bad there isn't a smellogram.
Yeah.
Smellogram or smell-o-vision. Smell-o-vision. So for 2 people, I would do a cup of risotto. Yep. That would be a very healthy serving for dinner. And so it's sizzling away like this. It's going great. And so at this point, we're going to put the risotto in. So it's a Bordeaux rice that you're going to use. Whoop, super fine. Yeah. This is super fine, or Bordeaux rice. Don't rinse it because you want all the starches that are on that. That's what's going to make this partially delicious. Yeah. Or some of the things are going to make it delicious. So in it goes. And so the first task is to just soak up all the delicious aromas and flavors that are in the pan there. And you kind of want the wider pan as possible. This might be a little bit narrow for what I'm doing, but I also wanted 2 that match from what I have started earlier.
Oh, the magic of television thing?
Yeah. So, okay, there's some similarities between this, as if you've been watching every week and stuff like that. Remember back at the very beginning when we started to do this, we did red wine eggs, or like red wine poached eggs. Yeah. So you have to have like a bit of a venture to want to do this, because in that case it was like, are we really going to eat red wine eggs? And in this case, are we really going to eat red risotto? And yes, you are. So, because the first ingredient, my friends, is going to be a cup of red wine. Rice, which may or may not appeal to people. Yep. This has so much flavor and so much texture because of that red wine. Okay, so risotto now has soaked up all the butter and the olive oil that's there to get the first layer of flavor. Let's even just do a little crack of pepper at this point too, just to like layer in the flavor. Let's do a little salt, not much, because we're going to be garnishing with Parmesan cheese in the end. And then we're going to get quite a bit of saltiness from that too, right? So we don't go too heavy on the salt at this point. Okay, so that's it. When you're cooking, you have to go. You have to go 1, 2, 3. It's
true. We all do it.
Yeah. But why 3? Why not 10? Or I don't know.
So just out of curiosity, because you're going to serve this with the new Baco, why are you not cooking with the new Baco?
Cara, my friend, great question. So, all right, so try to strategize this out. So, when you're doing a risotto, you need 1 part rice with 4 parts liquid over the half hour that you're going to keep on stirring and stirring and stirring this, okay? Right. So, ideally, I'd like to use all wine and no broth at all, right? But that's only for a certain person in a certain situation. In the case of Baco Noir, because Baco has a little bit more acidity than what many red wines do.
Yeah.
I think going all Baco is going to be a little extraordinary.
Right.
And even using Baco period might not quite work in this situation.
Right.
So hence why I like to go with the Fancy Farm Girl Red, which is Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot all together. I've just added in half of it here to start off with, just to get that impregnated into the rice. And it's a long, slow process, my friend.
Just so you know, Justin Downs has just joined us.
Oh.
So the pressure's on.
Hey, Justin! What's going on? Sorry, I should have my hair back and it should be touching it either, should I? But anyway, get out of the way. Hope all's well, Justin. Miss you! So the idea is to always never add more liquid to this until the previous amount of liquid has been added to it. It has been soaked up by the rice.
Gotcha.
And also use a wooden spoon for this too, because the idea is to keep it moving and to keep it going, and use a wooden spoon too, just to be adding friction. And as it's like going around and stirring around, the little bits of starch are schloofing off. Schloofing. Justin, is that a chef term? It's schloofing off the sides of the rice. And it also, helps build the texture and the creaminess of this. So really, what you need to do as a chef is you need to, let's just do this. Let's do this by example. You need to pour yourself wine and keep the chef well basted while you're doing this, because you're not going to move from this position for the next half hour. I just realized there's some rice this guy didn't get there. That's just too bad. Okay,
Justin, she's making a red wine risotto. He just asked.
Red wine risotto, yes.
Yes.
So we start off with, so I've used just red wine to start off with, to get the red wine into the rice. And then as time goes on, once the rice absorbs the wine, back here I have just keeping simmering and warm. Actually, it's a little cool now. Let's just warm it up a little bit. So you don't want this going too hot at all. Definitely don't want this boiling back here. Back here I have red wine and beef stock.
Oh, lovely.
So this is where you have to be a little creative in the kitchen. Know your wine. Know your audience, who's going to be eating this, and how much body and texture you think you can take. So in total, I've thought of this being, so it's 4 parts liquid to 1 part rice. So I need 4 cups of liquid over the 1 cup of rice. Yep. So I've got 1 cup that's already going to be in here and into the rice. Yep. So here is the equivalent of 2 cups of beef broth with 1 cup of red wine. Yep. If I was doing this with Amarone, or like a really warm vintage red wine and that didn't have a lot of acidity to it, I say go all wine. Yeah. Beef broth, right? And I've done it, so it sounds hilarious, but it's so delicious, and so it's not that big of a deal really, right? Because the alcohol burns off, and you get so much. It's just like such so it's so incredible on the palate. So. Kind of like the new 2018 Swing Barn Baco Noir Reserve, being incredible on the palate, my friends. So this is the first Baco Noir that I've ever aged in oak barrels, and so all we do is take the regular Baco Noir that I made with no oak aging to it, fruity, bright, made it with low alcohol, with all those fruit forwards first. Such as so it's got the blueberry and strawberry and raspberry notes to it. And then what we did was, once the wine was finished alcoholic and malolactic fermentation, which we actually did together in the tank at the same time. Yep. Once it was done that, then we took the equivalent of 2 barrels of wine out and put it into American oak barrels for the next 22 months and let that sit and just and it was amazing. So, because like a year into the oak aging process, it was wild because the wine still tasted the exact same as the one that was in the bottle. You couldn't see the influence of oak at all. It was crazy. And so it was over the next 10 months that the influence of oak really started to show.
Is that why you chose American oak? Because often, and this could be just my imagination, but American oak imparts like bigger flavors than the French or the Hungarian oak.
Right. Yeah. And so
stronger tannins.
Baco Noir seems to adore American oak so much more than French oak. It needs that aggressive, bright, aromatic notes that you get from American oak versus French oak. French oak is elegant and delicate. Yeah. Like the Baco just like dominate that. You never even see the French oak influence, right? Huh. So so in this case, American oak, and the oak had been recuperated too, and had a real sweet, vanilla coconut characteristic, just the oak itself. Like when you smelt that barrel after it was recoopered, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like so dreamy and fantastic. So, all right, what? So is this over here? Okay, so we're at the point now where, you know what? Sorry, I'm bring this one here. Smaller. So the stock is just staying warm back here. At the point of the risotto here, you can see we're getting dry, and it needs more liquid. So.
It's true, man.
We're just gonna ladle over, just like 1 or 2 ladles at a time, not too much at a time, just to keep just to keep it going, right? And that's why you have to keep the chef, basted just as much as you keep the. And so we need to keep going until you get the equivalent of just about 4 cups of liquid absorbed into your rice. So this is going to go on for 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah. So hence the drinking.
So hence the drinking. So on that note, let's just put this one aside. We'll work on that one later. And this is one. So it's going to have cooled off quite a bit now. But it's not bad. Okay. So this is like 90% there. So just gonna let it heat up a little bit. Oh my gosh. Okay, I just want to taste that actually, because you want it to be, it's kind of like pasta in a sense. You want it to be like a little bit, like not al dente, because rice being al dente is not quite right. But just past that, let's say, and just have a little bit of bite to the tongue.
Yeah, it's got to be a little toothsome.
Toothsome.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's fantastic. Wow. All right, just let that heat up a little bit. And I might just put a little bit of this stock in, just a little bit more to make it juicy, and heat it up. And it can use a little bit more juice to it as well.
I guess the other thing is, if you did use just wine, you'd really have to adjust the salt, because the beef stock will have salt in it. Right?
Ah, yes, clever.
Yeah.
And then also, and then when you use just wine, as I did myself, I needed a boatload of Parmesan cheese in the end to give it the richness to counteract the acidity from the wine. So.
Although that's also not a problem. A boatload of parm is not a big issue. That would be like saying there's too much butter in something.
Yes.
Never.
So just as that heats up a little bit, let's just chat about the wine. So it's $28.95 a bottle, just released this past Thursday. And if you're in the wine club, though, you would have received this about 3 weeks ago, the Gold Star Wine Club. And it's just, it has that typical Baco rustic note to it that just seems to run throughout all Baco Noirs. And hence so great with mushrooms and boar and like all your wild game meats and goose and duck and things like that. But then also just so great, just burger on the barbecue for crying out loud. And ribs would be fantastic as well. And I think with the risotto, even though we didn't use the Baco, like one of the rules in cooking with wine is always use the same wine that you're cooking with. But I think in this case, using the Baco, the acidity from the Baco is just going to dominate just a little bit too much. So.
Justin says you could also add a touch of 35% cream and a knob of butter to the risotto.
Yes, you can.
Oh my God, we should get Justin here and the two of you cooking together.
Oh, well, that sounds dangerous.
The Justin and Sass show.
That sounds... But what I do have over here that I'm going to incorporate in at the very end here is, and so in here there is a bunch of butter as well. We've got some mushrooms. So this is, for this much, I would do, actually maybe a little bit too much, but that was one big, huge portobello mushroom, 3 shiitakes. Oh, you know what, let's just put it all in.
Yeah.
And 2 white mushrooms. So, perfect. Let's turn that off back there. And let's just, you know what, we've got all the starch coming out, so that's perfect. Well, let's just be a little gentle to this. Let's use this. And just kind of, just give us all a little incorporation. This is why they say use a big pan as well. Yeah. Right? So, awesome. Okay. Oh my goodness, the aroma on this is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, so to finish this off, yes, a knob of butter would be fantastic, and a whole chunk of Parmesan cheese. So I was debating, do I put it in or do I?
Well, it's all about the plating at this point, so,
It is. Let's go back to this bad boy. Let's just do this. So for, an appetizer portion, because it's so dense and so rich, we don't want too much. If you're going to do it for, now if this is going to be a main, I would do like triple this. Come on, remember.
Who are we kidding?
Who are we kidding? Let's be not too light-handed with the Parmesan cheese, I'm just gonna use a regular grater as opposed to something finer, and let it be a little chunky on there too, just because we're gonna need that richness from the parm in there. Let's finish it off.
Also the saltiness and that sort of lactic tang. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some cracked black pepper, and just for a little bit of je ne sais quoi. This was rinsed previously, so something's boiling. The stock. Like something smelly that shouldn't be. So we might use a new stock for the rest of that. Think about scorching the stock before you, just a little. Well, I don't need much because parsley is quite powerful too, right?
Yeah.
So, oh my.
That's beautiful. Okay, taste test.
Taste test. Okay, always taste the wine first again. Let's refresh the palate, cleanse it. And super cool. Super cool. You have like the pie cherries there, but then layered on top of that are the oak notes and vanilla notes, a little bacon in the background. It has a real lavender note to it as well, actually, too, with the acidity of it. Somehow it brings out some type of some lemon curd on the end of it. So, all right, now let's go in here. You have a little lemon on top of this too, actually. Fantastic. Just to bring up some brightness. Ooh. With the right combination of wine to beef broth, because really that is about half and half.
Yeah.
We put that whole cup of wine in to start off with, but the broth that we were adding was broth with wine in it. So in the end, it's like half and half, and I think that's just perfect. You get lots of red wine characteristics on the palate, but you get the richness from the beef broth as well. And then the mushroom just brings a rustic nature to the whole dish that will link
That's
over and
earthy.
pair well.
Yeah.
The earthy, rustic, forest floor kind of notes to it that work well with this. So, oh, yum. Okay, this is really hard work. I hope everybody feels the pain and.
No, people don't know, Sue-Ann. They don't know how hard it is to be you.
Nobody understands how hard it is to be me. Okay, so, Swing Barn Baco Noir is only 44 cases that we made, and we've sold like maybe 6 or 7 already, so you want to hop on it and get this because it will not last till summer. Well, maybe it will.
It will last in your cellar. That's the other neat thing is this one you can cellar, whereas our regular, like our Bank Barn is for immediate enjoyment. So. Right.
Yeah, definitely don't age the Bank Barn Baco for more than 3 years. And in fact, I only recommend 2 years. But this guy, because of the tannin, and with that 2 years of oak aging, this will totally age for 4 or 5 years, no problem, and maybe even longer. So. Yeah. And then, of course, so we're on our last palette of 2019 Baco Noir as well. So you want to hop on and get that sometime through the month of March if you like the regular Baco Noir. And we'll be bringing it to 2020 sometime around Easter. So
awesome.
Anyway, also too cool. Okay, well there we have it. So eat well, drink well, stay safe, stay. We're cracking out a little bit now into red. We're going to be in Niagara in March or on Monday. But still take it easy, guys, and do that online and curbside pickup as much as you can. So, and we'll see you back here shortly, and see you back here on Sizzling with Sass next Saturday. Bye.